Greetings ladies and gentlefish, and welcome back to some subscriber replays, and we've got a couple of replays for you here, one courtesy of Wolfwin and the second courtesy of My Name is Puffs, both driving premium medium tanks of differing flavours. Kicking off with Wolfwin here, he is in the 100% totally balanced and definitely not overpowered T-3485M. I promise. For anyone wondering why I said that, in case you're not aware, the T-3485M is one of those really annoying tanks that's basically a tech tree tank, but better. So essentially you just get better hull armour. And the hull armour on this thing is actually a bit of a pain in the neck, which is kind of annoying. So, whereas ordinarily if you were fighting a regular T-3485 you'd shoot it in the hull rather than the turret, if you're facing this thing you're probably better off shooting it in the turret rather than the hull. Go figure. And, well, Wolfwin's... oh, that was a nice shot on the move. Wolfwin's matchmaking here is really quite tasty. This is... well, it's not even just a tier 6 match, it's tier 6 and tier 5, so it's not the very best matchmaking it could be. Oh, how dare the light tank penetrate Wolfwin there. It's not the best matchmaking that it could be, in the sense that Wolfwin could be shooting at tier 4s, which would be ridiculous, but it's pretty good. And he's going to have a bit of a riot of a game. So, first, straight off, we've taken care of that T-52, and the enemy T-3485M. Ooh, could this be a threat? Well, maybe if Wolfwin wasn't safe from artillery and the enemy was, you know, safe, then maybe, but as it is, he just gets slapped by the friendly SPGs. IKV over here, and you might notice Wolfwin is kind of going forward very slowly, which might seem a little bit weird, but, and I'm assuming this is the reason for him doing it, the advantage of doing that is that your gun doesn't bloom as much. So it means that you're going to be more accurate when firing that first shot after you have moved. So there is actually some advantage to just kind of pressing the R button once and gently moving forwards. If you're trying to engage someone and you're fairly sure they're not going to be in a hurry to move, and you are also not in a hurry to, for example, not get artillery. Ooh, hello M10. Now that's actually a pretty good tier 5 tank destroyer. I don't own it. Oh, that was a dodgy shot. I don't actually own the tank, but it always seems to do pretty well as far as I'm concerned. Its rate of fire is rather impressive, but I mean, you know, when you're caught in the side by a tier 6 medium tank, when you're a tier 5, your day's probably going to go poorly. As it is, the guy didn't get slapped too hard, but, well, if he is going to expose himself, oh, that was a little bit unlucky for Wolfwin there, but the guy's going to hang around because of his good rate of fire, which is going to result in him not taking any damage. Now, he is spamming gold at Wolfwin here. Yeah, I mean, I can't blame him too much. The T-3485M is a bit of a pain in the neck to try and deal with, especially if you're lower tier, so I don't want to be too harsh on him. Having said that, I have noticed an awful lot of M10 RBFMs who don't bother with the 1 key, they just load the 2 key. I mean, if that's how they want to spend their credits, that's entirely up to them, but given that you're a tank destroyer, and your penetration, whilst not amazing with standard ammunition, also isn't terrible. It seems a bit of a waste to me. Anyway, the M10 ends up getting slapped by Can't Sleep, Clown Will Eat Me. Oh, I'm sorry. In his M44 SPG. Oh, that's an amazing name. But it's okay, because it's not as if the other SPG on the friendly team also has a daft name. It's not like he's called Whirlybird or anything. Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to take a moment to appreciate the full grandeur of someone who has decided to call themselves Can't Sleep, Clown Will Eat Me. Oh, that makes me incredibly happy. Anyway. Oh no! No, he's dead! Oh, the scumbag in the Panzer IV-H has killed the guy who's terrified of clowns. Maybe he's Chucky. That's a Rugrats reference for anyone who doesn't get it, and might make me feel a little bit old now, but never mind. Let's just stop focusing on the guy with the awesome name. Right, what's the situation? We've got 6 kills apiece here. Friendly team has a slight HP advantage. Well, it's not really slight, it's what, best part of 600 hit point advantage, but they're down a kill. This game could definitely go either way, and that type T-34 should probably not take this fight unless he has SPG support. Turns out he didn't have SPG support, did take the fight, and that was fairly predictable. He did get a hit into Wolfwin, to be fair, and Wolfwin is now down to less than half health, but Wolfwin is also on, what, 1350 damage, 978 assistance, 590 blocked by his armor, which for a tier 6 medium is pretty good going, and KV1 says nope. That's a pretty garish KV1, but hey ho. Going from the mid plate on that tier 5 heavy tank, which, oh, he's using the small gun and stocked out with gold. That is a viable way to run the tank, but not my preferred way to do it. So with gold, by the way, with that 57mm gun that the KV1 was using, he does get, what, 180 pen or something like that. And pretty impressive DPM, I believe. So that is a viable way to run the tank. I just don't think it's particularly good, or it wouldn't be my choice. A, because you become kind of reliant on spamming gold. Goodbye, Panzer. And B, because, oh, M10, mistakes are going to be made. And B, because your alpha damage is terrible and you have to connect a lot of shots. And I think even with the high pen, if you're firing gold, it's just easier to use either the 85mm gun or the 122mm howitzer. At least until they change HE. We'll see how that pans out. Maybe then it won't be a good idea to use the howitzer. I don't know. Anyway, Wolfwin's actually up to 5 kills for anyone who's paying attention, and almost 2,000 damage, and over 1,000 assistance. So that's pretty good, and he's trying to communicate with his team here, to be fair. And Whirlybird, all praise the mighty Whirlybird, in the M44 responds. So we've actually got, I know, steady yourselves, we've actually got some teamwork in a random battle between people who aren't platooned. Wonders will never cease. Now, if we have a look at the enemy team lineup, they're now down on hit points, they're down on tanks. They've only actually got 3 proper tanks remaining, if you will. The other 2 are SPGs, and by that I don't mean to be disparaging towards SPGs. I simply mean that they're not frontline tanks. So, the fact that they have not been spotted all game doesn't tell us anything. If it was a tank that you would expect to be at the front line, who hadn't been spotted all game, then you could start making some inferences about where they were likely to be. But SPGs, we know where they're likely to be anyway. That's all I'm trying to get at. ARL V39 has moved up, credit where credit is due, I suppose, but he may soon be about to find out why ARL V39s generally don't move up. And, yeah, a bit like that, really. And Whirlybird, to give him credit, manages to take out the enemy, or one of the enemy M44s. Well done. So he did say he was looking for them, and I'm not sure, did he? I think he was looking for Tracer or something like that, perhaps. Either way, he manages to nail one of the M44s, which is some good work from Whirlybird there in his own M44. There's the last remaining enemy SPG, and this is the thing, right? Wolfwin tends not to take high explosive on his tanks. This is one of those situations where high explosive would be awesome, because the T-34-85M, in common with all tanks that use this 85mm gun, gets really good HE ammo. You get, what, 44 penetration, and your alpha goes from 180 to 300. That's a significant increase. And so it is entirely possible to one-shot tier 6 artillery pieces with that HE. Now, as it is, the enemy artillery was terrible and didn't relocate. But that's one of those situations where HE can be really, really helpful. He'd have had a slightly less than 50-50 chance of killing the guy in one shot, assuming he penned, which he probably would have done, because 44 penetration on HE rounds is pretty decent. And now he doesn't have to worry about SPGs. The artillery is all dead. Well, at least the enemy artillery is all dead. The friendly team's still got Whirlybird, but he does have to be worried about camping tank destroyers. Matchdog 3 is up in one of the most predictable camping spots on any map ever, really, and he dies. I mean, what else can you expect? And actually so does the T-34S, and that just leaves the T-34-85M here, who came down the cliff and hasn't moved, which makes me wonder if he's got himself into a spot of bother. And, well, we've got people commending the team in chat. What is this? No, he's not in a spot of bother. Whirlybird saying to his team, well done. Like, I am not prepared for this level of niceness in online gaming. And again, another situation here, if Wolfwin packed some high explosive rounds, he could have taken the track out and damaged the tank at the same time. So, especially on a tank like this that gets really good HE, I would recommend the occasional high explosive round. 5 is probably fine. Nice little salute there at the end to finish that one out, and that is the game. Let's have a look at the post-game stats. That ended up being enough for Spotter, Hand of God, Bruiser, Duelist, Fire for Effect, Steel Wall, High Caliber, and a Top Gun medal. A very nice haul of awards there indeed. 2,289 damage done, 6 kills, at 1,300, I can do maths and read, 1,631 base experience. Shout out should go to Whirlybird there in the M44, nice little bit of communication from him, and just some pleasantness in chat, which is always good to see. No one on the enemy team really had an amazing performance, if we're going to be honest. The difference between the two teams wasn't that big. It was actually a relatively close game. And the main difference just seemed to be that Wolfwin and Whirlybird on the friendly team just did better than their counterparts on the enemy team, and that's pretty much all there is to say about that. 31 shots fired, 22 hits, 15 pens for that damage count, most of which was from fairly close range. 14 hits received, of which 6 penned and 8 did not, for that 760 damage blocked by his armour. 4 enemy vehicles spotted, 10 damage, 6 destroyed, 1,615 assistance damage, almost 3 kilometers travelled, and that's a lot of credits, but bear in mind there was a mission payout at the time, which accounts for 150,000 of that. But even without those 150,000 credits, that'd have still been like a 70k profit in a tier 6, which is pretty good going however you look at it. So that's our first game, and let's move on to our next. So game number 2 then, and we join. My name is Puffs, and he is in the Type 59. Now, when I first saw that he sent this replay in, my initial reaction was, oh dear God, no, because he sent it in, or at least I saw it, shortly after the end of the black market. And, of course, Wargaming sold the Type 59G, the golden variant of this tank, during the black market. And so I just saw Type 59 and immediately assumed it was the Type 59G and had just an instinctive impulse to vomit, because, frankly, just looking at that tank makes me want to gouge my own eyes out with a blunt spoon. Don't know why I specified a woo! Oh, okay, this is an interesting start, ladies and gentlemen. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Puff's showing some pro gameplay there, and how he has such a high win rate in WN8. Anyway, I don't know why I said a blunt spoon there. Like, spoons don't usually come in sharp varieties, but regardless. Now, this is actually the original Type 59. And this is a tank that I'm always a little conflicted over, because I had an opportunity to buy one of these things, several opportunities, many moons ago. But the opportunities to buy... So, when I joined this game, back toward the end of 2012, the Chinese Czech tree? The Chinese Czech tree, yes, let's mix up our nations. The Chinese tech tree had only fairly recently been introduced into the game. And so the Type 59 was available for purchase. And I didn't get it because I'd only just started playing this game, and I wasn't going to drop, what, I don't know, 30, 40 quid on a game, that I didn't even know if I'd like. So I didn't buy it. And, of course, I remember the matchmaking being dominated by these damn things. And time passes. And then Wargaming say, hey, we're selling it again. This is the last time. Cough, 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 cough. Buy it, buy it, buy it. And I was tempted at the time, I will be honest, but I chose not to. I can't really remember the reasons. I think I just couldn't justify the expense or whatever. I can't remember the exact reasons, but I chose not to buy it. It may even have still been at a time when it was early enough that I didn't want to drop 30 quid on the game, or 40 quid, or however much it was. And then, of course, Wargaming don't sell it for a while. And then it rocks up in the black market. Ooh, but it's behind a loot box. Well, effectively a loot box. And I've then got two conflicting parts of my brain. There's the bit that likes collecting things going, we want the precious. And there's the more rational part of my brain going, what? No, why? Why would you want a fairly mediocre premium. Like, you've got premiums, you don't need this thing. Heck, you've got the T-34-3, which you actually like. If you want to train up Chinese medium tank crews, you don't need this. And you know that if you do it, because it's a loot box, you'll get it and you won't get lucky, and you'll get something else. You'll get the black edition of the IS-6 or something when you already own the IS-6. And the rational part of my brain won in the end. But it does make me giggle that there were plenty of people who went for the loot boxes to get this thing and didn't get it. Like, I shouldn't find it funny, but I do. Well, they didn't get this thing. It was the gold variant, and that was actually something else that put me off, because the gold variant is hideous. Like, I like a little bit of immersion playing this game, and do you know what really kicks you out of immersion? Looking across and seeing a tank painted in bright gold, because that would be dumb. It's the reason why, one of the reasons I don't like the WZ-111-5A Keylin. It's golden, and flames come out the side of the barrel when it fires because it has a dragon's head on it? I'm sorry, am I in an anime? No, sod off. Anyway, run over. Whew. This is Puffs in the regular Type 59, thankfully. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, so the Type 59 is a premium Tier 8 Chinese medium tank. It used to be the terror of Tier 8, because you used to get just the matchmaker flooded with these things. And, you know, watching Type 59s just cleave a path through Tier 6 tanks, and I was playing about Tier 6 at the time when this was around, it was just terrifying. But the game has moved on since this was first released, and so these days the Type 59 is nowhere near as powerful as it used to be, but it does still get, to be fair, preferential matchmaking, so at least it will never see Tier 10s. But aside from that, it's not the best tank in the world, if we're going to be honest. The regular penetration on it is 185. Premium penetration is 241, and that's actually what Puffs is firing here, though, if I'm honest, I don't really see the need. CS-52 Progetto and an Su-130 PM, they're not exactly the most heavily armoured tanks in the world, let's be honest. Now, you do get some frontal armour with the Type 59, but it's not as special as it used to be. Firstly because of power creep, but also because, if memory serves, the frontal plate on the T-34-3 was buffed a little while ago to bring it up to a sort of similar level. So, while I've been wittering on and Puffs has been trying to deal with the bad guys, the situation here has actually taken a little bit of a turn for the worse. The friendly team is 6 tanks to 9 down, and they're 4,000 hit points down as well. This is not a good position to be in. We're here, by the way, on the Mannerheim line, in case anyone hasn't noticed. And, yeah, what are we going to do? So Puffs decides, and quite rightly, in my opinion, that trying to hold that position, essentially alone, against multiple enemy tanks, and when he knows the enemy artillery has already taken an interest in him, is just not a recipe for success. And I agree. Now, the one thing I don't agree with here is Puffs just firing APCR ammo. Because there is a tank or two on the enemy team against whom you might want to fire APCR, but it is not the Su-130 PM, the Progetto, and so on. So, given that Puffs carries a limited stock, he had 10 rounds to start off with, I believe, I would be savouring those APCR rounds for tanks like the Somyo SM and the 7032, tanks that actually have some armour. There's the 7032, as we speak. But aside from that, I like the fact that Puffs has pulled back and, is that side shots into the 703? Come on, can he flatten out the angle a little bit to give Puffs a decent shot? That would be nice, but it's awkward. I believe this tank gets about 7 degrees of gun depression, which is just enough to stop it feeling super awkward, but it's not quite enough to be able to work ridge lines completely comfortably unless those ridges are quite shallow. Nice artillery hit there on the 703. 2, reducing him to a one-shot for pretty much anyone. Either the artillery or the Su-130 PM could load HE at this point to deal with him. That looks like it should be a kill shot, and indeed it is, and there goes the Somyo. So, fine. The targets for whom Puffs would really potentially want to use that APCR are now dealt with. Friendly team is still down on kills and over 3,000 hit points down. That's not good. Hello, Progetto. Well, I was going to say at least that's evened things up a little bit, but the friendly team lose the SU-130 PM, and they're still almost 3,000 hit points down on, well, hit points. And now it's just Puffs and the FV-207. These guys are outnumbered by 3 to 1, including the enemy artillery, to be fair. But if you discount artillery, they're still outnumbered 3 to 1. It would be Puffs versus the enemy type, the SU and the Rheinmetall. Now, the enemy type has just crashed, which is interesting. I would be loading high explosive at this point. The Rheinmetall's been spotted, the Borsig, and the two tanks will, I mean, what are we going to face? Artillery, and then a couple of really weakly armoured tank destroyers. And you can see their Puffs has had the same idea. HE loaded, and goodbye SU-130 PM. The guy was on the move. He's probably using binocular telescopes, which means his view range was probably awful, and so Puffs was able to do that without getting spotted. Hello, Borsig, how are you today? Not so hot anymore. And suddenly this is looking eminently more doable. Now, oh, and he's on fire. Now, I don't know why that Type 59 crashed. Did he just get himself into a really awkward position? We don't know. And the enemy artillery, or the friendly artillery, sorry, finishes the guy off. And suddenly, it's just Puffs plus this FV versus 3 SPGs. And they're only down on hit points by 38. Oh, people have made a bit of a mess of this. And Puffs and the FV are communicating. Is this teamwork in a random battle that doesn't involve a platoon? Yes, once again, that does appear to be the case. It's always nice when you see it. Yeah, and we'll see how this one goes. So, we don't want to be too complacent here, because no one likes getting shotgunned in the face by artillery and dying. As it is, I would expect, as long as Puffs and the FV are careful, they may well be able to pull this off. And there is sort of a potential Pascucci's, or is it Berda's medal? Dimitriu's medal for 3 SPG kills? Can't remember what it's called. And this would be a really, really nice comeback from them. So, coming up into a bush here. And Puffs seems to be trying to focus on spotting the SPGs rather than killing them. He does take a shot there, which does get lucky. Nice penetrating HE round there into the M40, M43. Can the friendly FV finish him off? Oh, it looks like possibly not. Oh no, there we go. Gaga K2 Medi. That's a bit of a mouthful of a name, but hats off to you, sir, for a nice shot there to take down the M40, M43. And that looks like the enemy artillery firing, which means they're probably on reload, and Puffs can just go for this. He's out of HE, so he's down to armor-piercing rounds, but frankly, most of these SPGs are going to take 2 shots, regardless of whether it's AP or HE to kill, so it's probably not going to make that much difference. There are the 2 delightful individuals in their little pigglies spotted, and Puffs is going to try and deal with these. Now, the dispersion values on the Type 59 are not particularly amazing. The gun blooms like it's going out of fashion, but he's able to swing the gun round there, pick up the kill on the GW Tiger P, and go for the SU-114-2, who I am pretty sure is still going to be reloading, but Puffs isn't really taking the risk. Oh, and he actually gets slapped in the face by the guy, and is able to finish the guy off. And there's the game. Really nice result in the end there. Lovely bit of teamwork from Puffs and Gaga K2 Medi in his FV-207. Well done to the both of them, and nice to see a comeback there that really, really was rather against the odds. What happened to the Type 59? Why did he crash? We'll probably never know. But hey ho, let's have a look at those post-game stats. So there we go, that ended up being enough for a first class mastery, bruiser, fire for effect, top gun, and a Pascucci's medal for those 2 kills at the end. 2,930 damage done, 6 kills, or 1,393 base experience. Shout out to Medi there in his FV-207 and for the teamwork at the end. I can only guess at what happened to that Type 59, given that the guy fired 9 shots, didn't hit anything, and travelled 2.21 kilometres. Either just a really terrible player, I suppose. Or maybe he just got himself stuck, fired a few shots in frustration, tried to wiggle out of his stuck spot and, I don't know, fell to his doom somewhere. Wouldn't be the first time. Did Puffs get a little bit lucky there that the Type 59 just threw himself away? Yes. Did Puffs also play well there in order to get that a win? I think so, yes. And was it nice to see a bit of teamwork? I would definitely say so. 19 shots fired, 14 hits, 14 pens for that. Damage count, 787 from longer range, most of it from pretty close range, which is the sort of thing you can generally expect from the Type 59. 4 hits received, 1 penned, 2 didn't, 3 splash, 550 damage blocked by his armour. A bit of assistance there, about 900 or so, over 4 kilometres travelled, and a relatively modest profit. Bearing in mind that Puffs did burn through all his APCR rounds in that game, so that will eat into his profit margins. Not that they really made that much of a difference. So there we go, a couple of replays for you there where we actually get to see some teamwork, which is always nice to see, I suppose. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, you can send me your own replays by uploading the replay file to whatreplays.com and taking the URL from that and chucking it in Discord. There should be a link to Discord down in the description. You can also support me on Patreon if you would like, and as ever, I wish you very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao, ciao.